welcome back. I'm honestly hoping this isn't that long because I don't feel like doing a whole bunch of editing today, to be honest with you. But there was a few things. Again, I don't know how it's gonna come out, but I hope it come out the way God intended to come out. But I went to I went to a psychic I don't know how many years ago. This was a long time ago. And I don't recommend a lot of things because they open a door to different type of demonic oppression that you can avoid going through if you just don't do certain things. And I know there's a lot of people that are okay with certain things because God has graced them enough to be able to overcome certain demonic oppression that comes with opening certain doors. But the whole thing is if you can avoid it, go ahead and not do it so you don't have to go through oppression. It's as simple as that. But me being the hard-headed child of God that I can be sometimes, I like to try different things and then I have to pray myself out of it, which is not always the best option. Again, 10 out of 10 don't recommend. Go ahead and let God lead you and help him, or let him help you through life without trying to do it on your own. And that's basically what, to me, what people call psychics and mediums and using all this extra stuff to understand the spirit and look into things further out instead of just letting God bring it to you. To me, it's just like these are things that God will naturally do for you if you just allow him. But if you step outside of him and try to do it on your own, there's repercussions. There's things that come with that. And it's spiritual attacks, it's demonic oppression. It's just different things that he'll have to deliver you through. But again, if you just seek his kingdom first, you can avoid all of that because he'll still bring these things to you without the oppression. There's persecution, but you're not demonically oppressed. It's a difference. And I don't know, he might explain that later, but I'm not about to explain that right now. Just know it's a difference. So with that, the psychic told me that there was two paths in life that could possibly take place for me, and it was up to me to choose which way I was going to go. And that always kind of stuck with me, and of course you don't want the non-favorable outcome, but it was just like, dang, what could I have done that bad to make life go opposite direction of what she was telling me initially? And what it boils down to is that same thing that I was just trying to explain. It's like trying to take matters into my own hand and do things my own way, and having life go a way that is oppressed. Like taking routes that don't fit God's plan and having the repercussions of those decisions take place because I didn't do things the way that God wanted me to do it. And I'm assuming the better route that she was trying to explain without explaining to me is if I continue the course of following what God has planned for me, I'm going to have a prosperous life. And it wasn't until recently that I'm better understanding what she said way back then. And it's not that like I tried to live my life around what she said, but it's easy to get caught up in what someone says and put yourself in a box or feel like you have to make the outcome be whatever it is somebody said in those situations. So it's best to just allow God to lead your life, because you know that everything that he does for you is going to work out for your good. So you don't have to try to understand what somebody else said and how or what they meant when they said it, because they might not have the full picture anyway of what God is trying to do with you. So it's better to just go ahead and go with leaving it in God's hands and allowing him to do what he does naturally to get his results than to try to get the results yourself and then have to pick up the pieces of the demonic oppression that comes with it. When you still, if you have some type of mustard seed of faith, then you're going to have to run back to him anyway. So to avoid all of that is just like go with your first love. Like that's, even he says that, like he wants to be loved like you did when you first encountered him. Like everyone might not have this experience, but I hope you do. It's just like when you first hear about God and you first hear about his goodness and you see how he's moving in your life, like you get this joy that you want to tell everybody. It's just like, dang, I finally feel a genuine love. And it's just like, let me go tell everybody about it because they can get this love too. Like he's not like a mother. So I had a friend who was afraid of having multiple children because she said that she didn't think she would be able to love her other children as much as she loved her first child. But she said once she had her second child, just naturally the love that she had in her poured over to her second child. It wasn't I love this child more or I love that child more. It was just a natural instinct to just love them because they're her children. And even at one point, just with life and things going on in life, she did say that, she had another child that she didn't love initially after giving birth to it. But that's a whole nother thing with postpartum depression, and that's another route. But I'm just saying that eventually she was able to love her child like she loved her other children once she got through that. But it's just that God isn't, his emotions aren't like our emotions. He has emotion, he has feelings, but his feelings aren't surface level like ours can be. Like when he loves you for real. Like he even says himself, he feels like, not feel, but he's married to the backslider. That's a different type of love when you know people are not choosing you and you still choose them. You know people are making or feel like you're made a mockery of because of the way that people don't show up for you the way that you would think they would because of how much you have for them. Like, I wish I could explain that better, but despite all of that, he still loves us no differently, no less. He might not love what we do, but he still loves us. So when I was thinking about these things, I was thinking about how just the difference between godly love and fleshly love, and how people, they rush into things or they make decisions based off of the fleshly desires without trying to have that type of love that God gives out. And it's like it's a foundation. Like when he says he is a solid foundation to stand on, to build on, that's key to everything. Like, it's not even just when it comes to people. It comes to the way you do work, the way you live your life, the way you love people. Like, if that foundation is solid, no matter what takes place, you're anchored in what God is. Like, there's no questioning, or you shouldn't have to feel swayed or tossed in the wind by anything, because he's never changing. He's always the same. So knowing that he's always the same just naturally brings a different type of peace, because you know that everything he does is for your good. Even in times where it doesn't look like it, or it doesn't seem like it, or it doesn't feel like it. Like, there's always a bigger picture somewhere down the line that he's trying to either teach you to get through or help grow you into what he needs you to be for the next phase of life that he has for you. But when you're in those situations, not to sound cliche, but just like when Jesus was in the boat just resting and everybody else on the boat was panicking, he was resting because he knew his father. Him and his father, they won. Like, he knows him, so he didn't have to feel or panic or feel distressed like everyone else, because he knew that he could calm the storm. He knew all he had to do was speak a word and it was going to subside. And that is all I'm hoping that others would learn and try to build off of things like that. But even if others don't, that's where I want to build my foundation from. That's why God told Peter, on this solid rock. Like, he knew that from a ministry standpoint, as long as Peter didn't stray from what he believed as far as that, even though he's seen how much they were doubting him, he knew if they stayed firm and they were able to see him do these things. They were right there next to him, with him through a lot of these things. But even just being who he is, he comforted them through in that time as well, to let them know that these are things that they can still stand solid on when he does leave, to be able to continue and move forward. The Bible verse that I was reading that kind of brought that together was Matthew 7:24 24 through 27. It says, "Therefore, anyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house. Yet it did not fall because it had its foundation on the rock. But everyone who hears the words of mine and does not put them into practice is like a foolish man who builds his house on sand. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house, and it fell with a crash." There's a lot more that can be talked about, but that's all that is feeling like being released today. So another thing that was kind of pointed out to me. So I have a puppy who is still trying to understand the concept of shadows. So whenever we're outside walking, he'll see our shadows moving and he'll stop and look, trying to figure out like if something's, I don't know if he's like in a protective mode or he just is curious and trying to figure it out. But he'll stop and he'll look at the shadow, and because it's our shadows, when we stop, it stops. So he just stares at it to see if it'll move. So I'll move and he'll look at the shadow to see if it's the shadow and me are like moving in sync. And it's funny and the cutest thing to watch, but it had me thinking about how that's kind of like people and the spirit. The only difference is when I was thinking about it in that aspect, the shadow is a distorted view of us. So when you're looking at the shadow, it's like you can see that it's mirroring your moves, but you can't see the details of it. So when I was looking at my shadow, when I was looking at him looking at the shadows, it was just that my shadow person, because of the way the light was coming in on it, looked really elongated and kind of distorted the way my body looked. So it was like, even though your shadow man, like there, even in a spiritual sense, people use that in a different way. Like there's a way to understand these type of things, and then there's a perverted way of understanding these type of things. So when people look at these shadow men, they take it literally and assume that the things taking place with these shadow men are the negative aspects of you. Like people with certain understandings say that you have to work out that darkness or the negative aspects of you in a spiritual sense. But what God was showing me in that situation was that's just a different perspective, and you don't know or see the details of it until the light is shown on you. So you can't take what that shadow version looks like as what it is, because just depending on different angles of the light, it can be distorted. So to take what is seen in the light is more valid or solidified, or is a better way of putting things into perspective than trying to base it off of a shadow or the projection of what the darkness is trying to portray as. Yes, it's connected, but you don't see the true details until the light is shown on it. And the whole thing is do you like what you see in the light? Like, even if the dark could be reflecting something that seems bad, negative, or to other people's understanding could be just outright wrong, when it comes to a light perspective being shown on it, are you happy with that view? Like, do you like what you see in the light? I don't think I'm explaining that the best I can, but my whole thing is dependent on the angles of the way the light is shined on things, it can distort the view. So it's better to have the true light, like God himself show you things about yourself, than to try to get an understanding in that different spiritual route, like I was saying before. Like, it's better to lean on his understanding than to try to understand from that worldly point of view, because it's distorted. But when he truly shows you different things about yourself, he's showing you these things so that you can correct yourself and lean into him to be able to move forward in the way that he wants you to move forward, and instead of going with the narrative of that distorted view and possibly changing outcomes to be what he didn't intend for you. Y'all have a great rest of y'all's day, and until next time.